euro budget saving.
That's right. That's what Stephen was just telling us about. It was this very much anticipated plan that the press was waiting for. And, well, the press is pretty unanimous today. It is a bitter pill to swallow. You can see the front page of Aujourd'hui en France. Valls is going to put us on a diet. And Aujourd'hui en France explains just how everyone is going to have to tighten their belts. Now, one word that keeps popping up as an expression in French. It's called la douloureuse. This is on the front page of 20 minutes. So what is la douloureuse? Well, this is an expression that you use when you get a bill at a restaurant, and it's particularly painful. So this is what a lot of the French press is saying this plan is. And if you take a look at Libération, you see that same word, la douloureuse, says Libération, with a picture there of Manuel Valls. Now, Libération is very critical of the content of this plan in its editorial today. It says that there are a lot of gray areas and parts that aren't really crystal clear, and it actually likens the plan to a hand plane, this tool that's used to shape wood. The government is planning on shaving off a couple of billion here, a couple of billion there, but it's not real structural reform. It's not in-depth and meaningful reform, says Libération. In the end, it's just a very painful bill that's going to make everybody angry. And Libération says it's not even clear if it's going to work. Libé says it's not clear that this plan is actually going to be able to cut 50 billion euros in savings in the next 3 years, just like the government promised.
So it seems Manuel Valls has got his work cut out in convincing some people, and we know that the far left press, even they are critical of it.
That's right. Now, Manuel Valls' government has been called the fighting government, and L'Humanité, the communist paper, says, sure, it's a fighting government, but what it's fighting against is social justice. So harsh words there for Manuel Valls. This article in L'Humanité says that the austerity project will have destructive consequences on a very far-reaching scale.
Now, Flo, the French press is also going really big on today's presidential elections in Algeria.
That's right. But before we go to the presidential election in Algeria, let's take a look at how the right-wing press is reacting to Manuel Valls' austerity budget-cutting plan. L'Opinion is disappointed that this plan doesn't include any real structural reform. So you can see the front page is saying that austerity gets 1 point, reforms get 0 points. But Le Figaro, another right-leaning, well, the main right-leaning paper here in France, is rubbing its hands about all this. It's kind of having a field day about this. It says everything is wrong about this plan. It's a minimum austerity plan that sparked maximum anger on the left. Now, what's interesting is 50 billion euros is too much for the left, but it's not enough for the right, and you can see Le Figaro says that the figures aren't right yet. And Le Figaro says, you know, it's great that you call yourself a fighting government, but being combative doesn't actually give consistency to the project. And this points out that even though Manuel Valls is very different from his predecessor, Jean-Marc Ayrault, well, we still don't get a clear picture of how the government is going to get the economy back on tracks.
All right, Flo, so clearly some creases still need to be ironed out in those plans. All right, let's move on to the presidential elections in Algeria. What's expected?
Well, La Croix, the Christian paper, says this is an election without very many illusions. And as Algerians head to the ballot box today, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion who's going to win this election. So President Abdelaziz Bouteflika likely to win a fourth term. La Croix says he has a likely victory, and there's a very tangible anxiety in the country. And La Croix interviews a political scientist named Shafik Mesbah. He says that President Bouteflika and his clan have no intention of giving up power, and they're ready to do anything to hold on to power. He says that they're carrying out a torched earth policy. And he says that even though Bouteflika says that he's in favor of democracy, the country has been pretty much locked down in the 15 years he's been in power. And this expert says that the country has not only regressed politically, it's also regressed economically. He says the income from Algeria's oil production has been squandered. Billions and billions of dollars have gone up in flames without bringing anything to Algeria's economy. So this political scientist has a very bleak picture of the country ahead of these elections.
Okay, Flo, right, thanks very much for that update of all the top stories today. We'll be speaking to you a little bit later. Coming up in the next half an hour, the Bitcoin, the mysterious digital currency, is the talk of the town in New York City. But there's been some controversy surrounding the cryptocurrency. Our reporters will take a closer look at why.